Welcome to the morning market briefing. Today is April 29th, 2026. The boys are back. Tom and Thomas, the Tomcats. A lot of people are saying that yesterday's video is the most viewed in the first 24 hours. So it turns out that having the Toms on the call is the golden ratio. So we're YouTube maxing right now. We're feeling very strong. Let's get into it. The big news obviously came out yesterday afternoon. And it's one we should probably hover over for a little bit, but the United Arab Emirates is choosing to exit the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which formally is a cartel. Now, cartels typically have a negative connotation because they're almost always involving drugs or human trafficking, but in the formal definition of a cartel, they're a group of market participants who are choosing to fix prices and not compete with each other, and so they can all make more money. Well, the United Arab Emirates has basically said, after 60 years, given everything that's going on with Iran and the production quotas, their inability to increase output, and all the tensions in the Middle East. I mean, including they're not exactly buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia, especially over oil policy. They're just going to dip out. And I'll be honest, I'm not really quite sure what Venezuela's status is in OPEC right now, since they're arguably the 51st state at the moment, being run by either Donald Trump or Marco Rubio, depending on who you ask.
We've taken over some of their OPEC-ness by taking the reserves.
Yeah, so I would be not surprised if you saw Venezuela exit OPEC as well. But, I mean, I think while that seems like maybe perhaps negative news for oil, and we're going to have oil popping off a little bit again today, I think in the long term that's going to be net beneficial, because you basically had the biggest oil producing countries, ex-US, deciding how much oil is going to be produced and setting a hard floor on the price. And I mean, it is a commodity, and the thing about commodities is there's perfect competition, because you're basically getting the same thing. I mean, think about bottled water. When it first came out, everyone was like, ooh, bottled water, it's so fancy. Look at us drinking water out of plastic bottles. But then, and Coke made a lot of money on it, and Pepsi made a lot of money on it. But at the end of the day, no one cares really what kind of bottled water you get. You go get a Poland Spring or a Dasani, and you're basically getting tap water filled with chlorofluorocarbons. Because those things get heated and cooled, and they're just full of microplastics, and they're all shrinking our reproductive parts. And so that, a bottle of water is what, $1? I mean, nobody knows. You can get them for free depending on where you go. It's not a cost that people associate with big profits like they did when it first came out. And, you've got the different companies trying to differentiate in the bottled water space. Liquid Death trying to make canned water that tastes like Dr. Pepper, and it's very strange, but it's not bad. But either way, commodities don't typically, if you mine gold in Peru and you mine gold in, I don't know, Nevada, it comes out gold and the price is the same. And I think that that's an interesting piece here, because you don't have an OGEC, or you're not seeing countries that produce gold set the price of gold. And so I think that's a net positive. And if you start to see things break up, I think you could see, more of these countries split apart and start competing with each other, which is going to be a real hamper in the Middle East, because, if you start competing on price, look how it works out for the airlines. And you're not going to make nearly as much money as you used to, but you've got to look out for yourself. And so I think this is a net positive. Now, is oil going to be up today? Yes.
Yes, definitely.
TK, breaking news. I'd like for you to describe to us the most recent tweet/truth that came out from our dear leader.
Yes, we got a truth maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. I think Hicks is pulling it up right now. Of the president with an AI-generated image with him holding a gun, wearing some cool shades, and a bunch of explosions in a desert in the background. So I think that picture itself might bring up oil to 115, would be my guess, at some point later today. But on some non-truth news, we're deciding to extend the duration of the Iranian blockade, sort of circling the points we talked about yesterday. The administration really thinks that Iran is near the collapse when it comes to running out of storage, and it's going to have to force some production cuts soon. So nothing notably new, but definitely looks like the naval blockade extension is going to be here for a little bit longer.
I mean, the capping of the oil wells, there's been more reports that they've basically fired up a bunch of retired tankers now. So there's a whole slew of old creaky boats that have been retired heading towards Carg Island to continue to offload production so they don't have to cap the production. But eventually they're going to run out of storage and they're going to have to make a decision, And ultimately, I think that decision is who exactly is in charge in Iran. There's been a lot of questions about that, whether it's the military, whether it's the people who are negotiating with J.D. Vance, whether it's a one-legged vegetable that's lying in a burn unit somewhere. So it's tough to say exactly what's going to happen, but they've got to get it together because, I mean, they've just got no leverage at this point. So we'll see how that turns out. Oil is now at 114.77 pre-market, which is elevated, but not as elevated it has been. And obviously, in the last month and a half or so, we've seen a lot of rerouting of oil supplies. So, prayers up for European countries, island countries, Japan, Ireland, the UK, all going to be in a tough spot. Europe, China especially, but not the boys in red, white, and blue. Unfortunately, we're still kicking and not having nearly as much trouble. On the merger news, we've got a very special merger today in honor of our friend Thomas Kleiker here. TK Elevators.
Powerful name. Very
powerful. Looking to acquire Cone.
They're getting acquired by Cone.
Oh, they're getting acquired by Cone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, walk us through it. This is your news story.
So Cone is going to acquire TK Elevator for $23 billion in cash and stock. These are both the largest. During this acquisition, this is going to make Cone the largest elevator company in the world, with like roughly $20 billion in revenue. The deal's facing scrutiny right now due to industry consolidation, but at least in the U.S., I don't know if they're going to be. We don't have Lena Khan at the FTC, so I don't know if they're going to have as big of an issue as they previously had. And then just overall in the macro, it sort of fits the theme of mega deals so far in 2026. So M&A has been picking up, but it's primarily been driven by these deals that are over $10 billion.
I'm not certain that I've ever been in a Cone elevator.
I don't even
know.
They
must be big in the UK, where they call them, or I guess Europe, where they call them lifts.
I think they're based out of Finland.
Okay.
So maybe they're the UK market too.
And we talked about this before the call, but TK was a good name change because the original company name was, and I looked it up on YouTube, ThyssenKrupp, which is spelled THYSSENKRUPP. And you've definitely seen that name before when you've been inside an elevator and probably thought, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. But, they basically, at least in the States, compete heavily with Otis Elevator, which I believe was spun off from Harris when they merged with L3. It was a few years ago. They spun off from somebody. It was either that or the Carrier. They split off from Carrier air conditioning. I can't remember exactly what that deal was, but Otis is a separately traded company now. But Otis Elevators, based here in these United States. So next time you build your own building, let's win one for the manufacturers and the good guys in the United States, and not this giant Finnish now.
Now with a lot worse name too. You might as well not even go.
Yeah, Cone is a terrible name for an elevator. Now they made Cones. Cones is a great name for a company. Let's get into some earnings news. We've got a lot of narwhal companies going off. Vulcan, T-Mobile, Starbucks, Visa, Garmin, which we own a little bit of, all reporting earnings this morning. What are the highlights there, TK?
Man, so I feel like just the overall highlight so far is analysts in the market do not really care about your current quarter. It's mostly about your guidance going forward. I think that the uncertainty with the consumer for a lot of analysts and the uncertainty of the market right now is really pushing past a lot of the gains. I mean, there's been a lot of really strong quarters and a lot of mixed reactions from that. So starting off with T-Mobile here, the company raised their full year guidance, adding a lot of postpaid accounts and broadband additions. Just on the going forward side with AI, they're highlighting their physical AI and edge computing ambitions. They announced a partnership with Figure AI to connect their 5G advanced network to humanoid robots. and they're still doing a lot of their partnerships with Starlink. So Starlink doesn't necessarily offer direct services to a lot of customers. A lot of the ways that it's utilized is through T-Mobile. So you can either have a T-Mobile plan or you can pay an additional fee as like a Verizon customer or something like that to access Starlink. So pretty good quarter from them. Like, got it going forward. They're up like 2% pre-market.
Do we think that T-Mobile goes the way of Whole Foods and just becomes a wholly owned subsidiary of Starlink?
I would almost wonder if, I mean, depending on how the whole X mergers go down, I mean, these guys could probably acquire T-Mobile for
that's what I'm saying.
Their system. Yeah.
Like $500 billion, whatever their market cap is, a drop in the bucket when you're a $5 trillion company and you've got a sucker fish on the side of your whale. We can just, they can become a parasitic entity. Like those weird fish with the lights on their heads. The big scary looking ones are all female, but the male ones, when they, procreate with those fish, they merge their bodies into them. So you see the one with the light, it could have like 4 or 5 parasitic mates that are all attached to it for life. Look it up. It's insane. But I feel like that could be T-Mobile with Starlink.
And they were just trying to get bought out or exploring a merger with the Deutsche, the previous parent.
Yeah.
The other week. So I'm imagining that something like Starlink would have more cash to pay.
Man.
On a merger deal like that.
Deutsche Telekom.
Moving on to Starbucks. The haters and losers me thought that Starbucks was actually not going to have a great quarter, but they were up 4% after hours. They ended up raising guidance, had 7% increase in comparable U.S. same-store sales, primarily driven by transaction growth, but there was still a lot of price there, which I don't know how they're still able to keep driving price. But they raised their 2026 guidance, now expecting global comp sales to grow 5% or more, including the U.S. They increased their EPS range to 2 to 2.5, but there's some weird financial engineering there. A lot of analysts had higher EPS guidance targets and lower comps targets, so there's some interesting stuff going on there. And then they're expecting consolidated net revenues to be flat year over year following the divestiture in the China segment. So pretty better than expectations quarter from Starbucks, but the way that analysts trade this stock, I think to me is just extremely confusing, and they're trading at an 82 PE ratio right now.
It's
so
insane. It's really insane.
I mean,
it's so expensive right now.
You look at a company like Spotify that's growing high double-digit revenue, and this is going flat, and Spotify's trading at a 31 PE.
I mean, they're just excited that they didn't lose money in China for the first time in the last 20 years.
And I think the China move was it was a good move.
Smart.
But
yeah. Every previous CEO has died on the sword trying to get Starbucks up and running in China. And it's just...
You just got to join the commies and let them go to work.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the milk consumption is in China, but like, it seems like, I mean, I'm not aware of any like famous Chinese cheeses. And so like trying to introduce drinks that are primarily milk, it seems like it would be a tough order.
They did introduce a lot of new drinks too. I think a lot of their new refreshers line. I think that part of their plan was reducing SKU, but I think they will see success in sort of the customizable energy drink space. So you can have a drink in the afternoon that maybe you typically would just be like a refresher or something like that. So $7 juice. You can now add some caffeine additions to that as well. I think will be good going forward. And then moving on to Visa, strong quarter, revenue growth up 17%. This is the strongest revenue growth quarter they've had since 2022. Also executed the largest buyback in history, $7.9 billion, and they also distributed $1.3 billion in dividends.
Bingo.
The board also authorized a new $20 billion share repurchase program. So strong quarter out of Visa.
Big day. Needed that.
Then moving on to Garmin, same theme here. They had a really strong quarter, but when these companies, at least so far, have had a strong first quarter and they don't raise their full year outlook, that's somehow an indicator for analysts of weakness. So they're down 2% this morning, but really strong growth in a lot of the segments, a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, I was shocked by this. I saw the numbers and I thought, man, they're just absolutely crushing it.
I mean, up 42% in revenue for fitness. That's crazy. to be. Not
I mean, all of
to be
them are double digits.
and that's off a pretty
Outdoor, aviation,
that's
marine,
not off an
all
easy
high
comp
double
either.
digits. Yeah,
I mean,
and
you're off a
suddenly,
double-digit comp.
and the stock is down. It's super frustrating because this company continues to execute at a high level with premium products. I mean, the Garmin watches, I mean, the high-end ones are, I mean, in the low thousands of dollars. And the marine technology, like the fish finder stuff and the GPS for boats is also very expensive, and they're seeing huge growth there, and yet
And I think you would see, I mean, a little bit of my prediction, if you're going to see revenue numbers this strong, it was going to need to be a lot of marketing. Operating margin was down to 24.6 compared to 28 last quarter, but that's not, I mean, historically for them, that is not bad whatsoever.
Frustrating. What else is top of mind? Anything else heading into today? We got the Fed meeting this afternoon. I don't expect to see anything interesting from that, but we'll, as always, we'll recap Jay Powell's commentary. We'll see. We'll see. Potentially, we'll see if Kevin Warsh gets in. But it looks like they're trying to clear the path to get Jay Powell out, so he can go ride his bike around homeless people, and see what else there is out there for him. I mean, he's getting long in the tooth. I think it's time to set sail. But we'll see what happens.
Other than that, today it's the biggest day of the year, probably. I mean, we got Vulcan, Garmin, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon. Canadian Pacific, UFPI, General Dynamics. I think Qualcomm's reporting today too. So
I think Vulcan's already out. I think
Vulcan's out this morning, but their call's at 10:30. So
got it. Yeah, they're up 5% pre-market. We own a lot of Vulcan. Yeah. We have a lot of institutional ties to Vulcan. So shout out to our Vulcan people. Live long and prosper. But we'll recap them, I suppose, in the morning, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow day is burrito day.
Let's go.
So it's been a while. I missed burrito day last week, so it's light crew in the office this week because Ben and Andrew are out. So
it might be a double burrito day.
Double burrito. That's a huge day. So we'll see you guys in the morning, and as always, like, subscribe, send this to a friend. They're gonna love my analogy about the weird fish with the lights on their heads. And let's make tomorrow 2 days in a row fastest run to 200 views on a YouTube video. And we'll see you tomorrow.